Well, let's get an international perspective on this story with Kevin Curran, Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University, and he joins me now from Londonderry in Northern Ireland. Kevin Curran, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now, from what you've read and what we know so far, do you think China was responsible for this attack?
Attribution for attacks is difficult in this world, because you don't know whether you've been attacked by a government with a 50 billion military budget or three guys in a basement somewhere. Because, of course, even if another rogue nation state hacks a particular government, they can try and easily ascribe that the location came from somewhere else and try to make it look like another nation was attacking them. And if they're good, they're able to hide their tracks online, because it's very difficult to be able to pinpoint the only identifier that we have, which are IP addresses. And there are so many ways you can bounce traffic when it comes to even attacks and hacks to make it look like you came and actually drive it from another location.
Now, in Australia, we are expecting elections in the coming months. So what do you make of the timing of such a breach?
It's possible that it has something to do with undermining the democratic process, but most governments have elections on a regular basis. And again, you have to see, well, what is there, what's to be achieved by another nation trying to attack, for instance, Australia in this case. Again, do they really favor the left or the right? And again, when it comes to it, really, is there other things, if they were more dangerous than actually trying to hack into a parliament server, into databases, maybe into emails, which a lot of them are just mundane? Perhaps we'd be more worried about critical infrastructure, where a lot of our infrastructure is now going online, our grids are going online, cities are becoming smarter, where a lot of infrastructure is now connected to the internet. So a lot more damage could be done if another nation state tries to attempt to cause damage in a particular country. But again, we don't know whether this is to do with any democratic process. Again, we don't know whether it's a nation state. We don't know whether it could be Chinese hackers. There is a Cloudhopper group. There are APT-10 threats where they're well known, the Chinese hacking groups, which are linked to the government. And of course, most major governments now have offensive hacking teams. Again, they have the offensive and they have defensive cyber teams again, but of course they do have offensive ones, and all their major ones are Russians, the Chinese, the UK, the US. They all have offensive military units for cyberspace attacks.
Of course, it's not the first time that China has been accused of cyber attacks aimed at Australia and other Western nations. Now, do you think this sort of activity is being ramped up by Beijing as it strengthens its geopolitical position?
It's quite possible, but we also don't know how many attacks are being conducted on the Chinese infrastructure themselves. So some of this could be retaliation, some of this could be wrongly ascribed to them. But there's no doubt that really when it comes to the top nation states for being accused of nation state espionage online, China are right up there at the top. Again, they have a history of trying to break into Western infrastructure to steal trade IP. Again, we've known many attacks. They've been accused of the Sony ones in the past. And again, we've had convictions, again, mostly in the United States, again, where they seem to do a lot of their espionage. So it is quite possible that they are ramping up again. And most countries are putting more into their cyber weapons again, because now that they realize that wars can be won without a shot being fired, because most of our infrastructure is online, the internet is crucial to our businesses, is crucial to our society in general. More of us are just doing everything online, our government forms, our shopping, our communications again. So if you can disrupt a country's internet infrastructure, you can do a lot of damage.
Of course, we've also seen Russia accused multiple times of cyber attacks, but it doesn't seem perhaps that authorities in affected countries can do very much. So are there mechanisms in place to deal with future attacks?
The problem of jurisdiction on the internet is, of course, one of the main gripes that we have, again, because when you have to deal with the hacker coming from a foreign state, again, you have to deal with extraditions, again, which are, again, going back a long time. They haven't coped with the way that we've grown as a society with the remote connections that we have. Again, there has been moves to try to bring in a Talon manual, for instance, to try to bring in what we have agreements in the past with nuclear weapons. Again, they're trying to bring in a code book, rules for the global societies so that we can determine what is allowable when it comes to an attack or a monitoring or a remote lookup of a country's another country. Again, just trying to bring in rules so that we have guidelines into what is beyond the line, what is beyond what is beyond any reasonable expectation of another country trying to gather information again. But we're not there yet because, of course, countries have to agree on the wording of the document. They have to agree on the rules. And again, the rules change all the time with the internet. We're getting new tools, new methods again. But at the moment, there is no clear protocol agreed among the governments of the world as to what is too far when it comes to espionage online.
Okay, Kevin Curran, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much.